So welcome everybody. I know some of you, and I've met you, some of you for the first time today, which is absolutely brilliant because I know all of your organisations. So it's just so exciting to meet people and hear a bit more about what you're doing. It's great to see that you're interested in the Invest programme. Andrew Table will be having a conversation around the community support group they have at the Honourable Company and the work they do. And they are finding the brilliant mentors from the Honourable Company, which you'll hear a few shortly later. And Marie is our regional manager for the Southwest, who oversees the programme and has been overseeing it again for the last 3 years, and obviously is well experienced in other mentoring programmes across the country. A little bit about the mentoring programme, a bit of an overview, and then we've got some conversations from our mentors and mentees about their journey so far. So for those of you who know us, you may not know that we're a community foundation, but there's 47 of us across the country. So if you do have organisations based in other counties, you're likely to have a community foundation on your doorstep. And it's fantastic. There's 47 of us that can share best practice across the country. We're all varying in sizes. I'm one of the smallest ones, and we go up to one of the largest ones, which has about a 90 million endowment, and we're sitting on about a 7 million. So very different sizes across the country, but we all essentially do similar things. So charity leader research, that was really interesting. And we've continued to, on the back of this major piece of research, we've continued to research through our grant facilities. When anyone applies for a grant through GCF, Sarah, who's on the call, the grants manager who you will all know, will collect information on the bottom of those grant applications, and we still ask, how can we support you in ways other than funding? And that's what we collate on a monthly basis. And mentoring was very much key, and still seems to be key as we continue to go through challenging times. But there's other areas that we've been asked about, and we'll discuss that a little bit later around the peer-to-peer programme we'll be launching later. And that is the #1 support that all charities have asked for, is to help facilitate partnerships and collaborations and that networking piece. So we can go into a little bit more detail later. Together, we've delivered this pilot programme, and I think if we go on to our website and the information we've been sharing, Gemma from WAM was one of our pilot mentees, and the change that it brought to her personal life and work life is really inspiring. So I encourage you to have a little look at her video with one of the great mentors from the Honourable Company, and it's a lovely journey and story. And so now we're in year 3, and that's really exciting because we've learned a lot over the last few years, working together in partnership and learning how the programme works for everybody. And it's just really exciting. We've got into year 3. So we hope to share some of the learning and some of the future thinking. So I'll pass you over to Andrew Tabor, who's the Warden of the Honourable Company of Gloucestershire.
Thanks very much, Talitha. Well, we've been going about 16 years, and we were set up back in 2007 by the then Lord Lieutenant Sir Henry Elwes, who believed that there was a body of people within the county who could offer a lot of support, in particular to business, education, charities and voluntary organisations, arts and heritage, armed forces and sports. So one of the things we do in particular is to promote and reward excellence. We do that through our cadet awards, both in the armed forces cadets and also the police cadets. We do a lot of sponsoring of the arts and heritage as well. And our sponsorship is both in assisting, giving sort of moral support, and also being able to give smallish grants of up to £1,000 through our charitable trust. So one of the things we support is the David Vasey Prize, which supports best practice in Gloucestershire libraries. And there are a number of other things we do, but the body of people, we've got a lot of experience, and our strength is in the experience of our membership. And that's what we really want to bring to bear on the mentoring project, which we've now been doing for, actually, we're into our 4th year, because we had a pilot project just before Invest launched. And during that period, we've managed to mentor mostly through Honourable Company mentors, around about I think 30, getting on for 30 people, so a pretty good number, and I commend the project to you.
Brilliant. And just to introduce Marie from the Cranfield Trust.
Hi everybody, hi, I'm Marie Langan and I'm from the Cranfield Trust, as Talitha said, and I do have a lovely fancy new logo, or we do, Cranfield Trust have a lovely fancy new logo which I must put on my backdrop. I haven't put it on today, but nonetheless we're still doing all the good work that we were doing before under the old logo. Cranfield Trust is a charity. We were set up just over 30 years ago. Our patron is the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and she charged the students, the graduates from an MBA program that she was handing out the graduations to, she charged them with setting up some kind of voluntary organisation to give something back to the community with all their knowledge and privilege and experience, and they turned around and set up the Cranfield Trust. And since then we don't have the same direct connection with Cranfield University, but we do still carry out exactly what people do on an MBA course: management consulting, pro bono, delivering management consultancy projects to charities across the UK. Completely pro bono means completely free of charge, which is fantastic, and we do that by using the generous volunteers in the business community across the UK, and that includes in Gloucestershire, and in this case specifically with Andrew and his organisation, the Honourable Company. So we're all about using volunteers to give back, using their skills and experience, and it's a win-win for everybody. We're just finding it's such a positive way of approaching things. People are matched with, volunteers are matched with charities that they have an interest in, that they're geographically close to, that their skill sets are going to be a good match, and that's my job, to make sure that those fits and those matches are good, matching people's interest and experience. So we do the consultancy projects, mentoring, we do other things as well. Please check our website, and also you'll see our lovely new logo. So on this programme I will be overseeing ensuring that the mentors who step forward and so generously give their time to make sure that they're trained and supported in becoming mentors, checking in on the mentees and mentors, making sure that they're getting the time to have good quality meetings and conversations, and then at the end of the programme gathering feedback, evaluating the impact of the programme, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, some great impact from previous participants in the programme, both volunteers and charity leaders.
Brilliant.
So
Thank
back
you.
to me. So being a mentor, back to me. Yeah. So yeah, you're probably wondering what being a mentor is all about and what our mentoring offering is. And basically we've recognised over the years, and obviously Talitha's talked about the research that she's done as well with her charities in Gloucestershire, is that being a charity leader is a very difficult role, and now more than ever it's a very lonely place to be, whether you're a manager, director, founder, chair, whatever you're calling yourself, trustee, treasurer, all these leadership roles in charities, CEO and so on. It's a lonely place to be, because there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and a lot of things you can't share with your staff, you can't share with your board. Maybe if you're a CEO, you don't want to share without having some time to think about it and perhaps get some perspective from outside your organisation, and that's exactly what the mentoring program's there for. It's giving you an opportunity to talk to someone independent of the organisation, get a fresh pair of eyes over your issue, some support and advice and guidance, and you're not, taking that to friends and family and burdening them with all your issues that you're going through in your business, in your workplace. So volunteers will also, from using their own experience, will help you think differently about what's happening, help you think maybe of some possible solutions, but we're there also to help you develop and hone your own problem solving skills. So if you need help, if you're a charity leader, or if you know a charity leader who could do with having someone outside the organisation help them explore the better way of doing things, then please do get in touch about the programme. So sometimes people wonder, what is the difference between mentoring and coaching? And we'll cover that straight away, because there's some very common themes, some skills and experience that will be common to both. But for the most part, mentoring is about sharing your time, just being generous, listening. The golden rule that we tend to tell mentors is that you speak 20% of the time and your mentee speaks 80% of the time. So the mentoring program is driven by the mentees. As mentees, you will tell us what you want to talk about with your mentor, and that's the agenda. That's what you will talk about there. We won't, drive any particular agenda into the program. It's all about what you want to talk about. It may be something that's bothering you this week. It may be something you've got to do next week, next month, next year. It might be something that you're looking, 3 or 4 or 5 years ahead, because we all know how charity deliver, and some of these issues could be multi-year issues. So whatever you want to talk about in the program, it's confidential. It is a safe space to explore and talk about things, rather than a learning how to do a particular thing, which would be a coaching. That's where coaching comes in. Now, sometimes the mentoring sessions can develop into coaching. For example, if you were to say, I've got to speak publicly in a couple of weeks, I want some advice and guidance, I want you to help me be more confident speaking publicly, then that might make the mentor, bring their coaching skills to the fore, and they may be giving you some specific coaching about a particular issue. But for the most part, mentoring is just about talking about what's on your mind, what's happening, where you need help, and that can be very relaxed and is entirely driven by you as the mentee. So that's kind of the difference between mentoring and coaching. Next slide, Talitha.
Sorry, doesn't seem.
Oh, we're getting a little stuck.
Doesn't seem to.
I could talk about mentoring and coaching for a long time, but
that's annoying. That did not want to go.
That's okay. I'm sure we'll get there. But it will come up when people start talking about their experience of mentoring. It's always going to be different for every single pair that we match up. It's a completely tailored project to each individual that steps forward to receive mentoring. So it looks like you're up next, Talitha. Yeah.
Here we go. I think I'm going to keep it on there because it keeps freezing. Can everybody hear me? Marie, can you hear me? Yeah, brilliant. So the programme, collaborating small and the kind of small, medium-sized charities and voluntary groups. I guess with GCF, we are a community foundation. Our main focus is to support the small and medium-sized charities, where we recognise you don't necessarily have people to necessarily talk to. As Marie says, you've got a board and it's quite tricky just to open up to who essentially are your line managers, or share with your small team, and you don't want to burden your team. So this is such an important programme where you get to speak to somebody outside of your family and work network. What we've managed to do is provide funding for 10 charity leaders to go through this programme. We ideally set out to have 50 charity leaders in 5 years go through this programme, and hopefully once they've gone through this programme they may be able to help others, and that sort of spread of capacity building and strengthening of our sector. And we hope as the years go by, that will essentially become a strong network of both mentors and mentees. So the charity leaders, you can be chief execs. I mean, I'm a chief exec and I've got a team of 5 people. So it sounds quite grand, but often you're running very small organizations, and it is quite small teams. So this is about just the fact you're a leader of maybe a head of, in a larger charity, of a department, maybe you're head of fundraising or head of development, or so really it's just the fact you're responsible for something within a maybe a larger charity, or you're leading a smaller charity. So you don't have to have a certain title. It's about the responsibility you're holding and the fact you would like some support, a moral support, and I guess we say a listening ear and a helping hand. So using volunteer mentors, it's really interesting actually. As Marie says, the people that have come through the programme and have been matched with their mentors, Marie is very skilled in matching the mentor and the mentees together. The only reason unfortunately, if there is a breakdown, it's due to personal issues. We've had a couple of personal situations with mentees that have needed to drop out for personal reasons, but otherwise the matches have been 100% successful, and it's just fantastic to hear those journeys. So I would say Marie is very skilled in matching requirements, so have faith that, you know, you'll have a point of being able to work through who you're going to be working with, and that you're happy with them, and vice versa. So it's a very good process of making sure both parties are linked together in the right ways. I guess the mentors, it's really interesting. I've heard, and I think Colin's on here as well, Colin Dennis, we did a volunteering celebration at the start of last year, and had a lot of the mentors and mentees together, and it was just wonderful to hear the benefits to our mentors and just how much they felt they'd learnt, and what a joy it was to support a charity leader. So it's very much a two-way support and learning journey. It's not just about a mentor necessarily bringing their skills and not getting anything back. It's very much two-way, which is why it's really quite exciting, because you're learning together. So becoming a mentee, I think essentially we've talked a little bit about who could become a mentee. It's fairly broad, but around the specifics of criteria, long as your charity is addressing the needs of poverty, disability or social exclusion, formally constituted, so you've got a board of trustees or similar, you're based in Gloucestershire, and you're a small or medium-sized organisation, but revenue needs to sit within the 1.5 million. We've got an invest page on the GCF website. When you go on there, there's an application form to fill in. Just send that across to me. We go through all the application forms, check all the eligibility, and then we work together with Marie and the mentors and look at how we can match you up. And then we'll come back to you, and Marie will get you all set up, and then we introduce you to your mentor. So it's a really straightforward process. Becoming a mentor, essentially we've got skilled, amazing people in our county, and I think it's wonderful that you can give back your skills. So recruitment is underway. Andrew Tabor, who you've just heard from, is heading up the mentor recruitment. We do already have 10 members signed up, but we are looking for further mentors to widen the pool, because when Marie does her matching, if she can't quite find someone within those 10 that are right for one of the mentees, then we do like a larger pool so we can make sure the matches are perfect. The experience essentially is leadership and strategic direction, people management and business planning. So you've had some good experience around a leadership position, and being a good listener. As Marie says, it's a big listening role, and it's that person knows you're there, allocating time to purely dedicate yourself to them for the hour or two that you're there, and that you are there to listen where they probably don't have anybody else necessarily that will listen properly, and know that you're dedicated to them. So it is a good listening. You do need to be a good listener. Training material, Marie can touch on that. Professor Clutterbuck has delivered a piece of a framework, if you like, Marie will talk through. So it's a proven model. It's great to have that learning and development with somebody so knowledgeable, and the Cranfield Trust will obviously manage that partnership. So when you've started your mentoring and the partnership with your mentor and mentee, Marie will touch base with you and see how you're both doing and how you're both going. So there is constant support there. The mentoring process, Marie.
Lovely, thanks Talitha. So just so that you know what to expect, mentoring under the programme will consist of 6 sessions of between 60 to 90 minutes, and they're normally once a month. I mean, they could be once every 5 weeks, every 6 weeks if you need to, there's good reason, but generally once a month is a really good sort of kind of pattern to fall into, because it gives you time in between sessions to try and act on some of the discussions you've had, some of the advice you might have got, or some of the things you want to try, and then come back to your mentee the next session and have a chat about it. So once a month works pretty well. We do have a short mentoring handbook. It's probably 10, 12, 13 pages long, so really not a long read, but really important to just read through that, it'll have more about the whole difference between mentoring and coaching and so on. Then a regular check-in with myself to make sure everything's going smoothly. And then at the end of the project, we wrap it up with, if we can do a meeting, we'll do a meeting, otherwise a chat over the phone or Teams, talk about the outcomes of the project and evaluate the impact of the project, because it's really important that you've gained something from the experience. But it's important that you set the objectives at the beginning as well to make sure that you gain something through the experience. So we'll talk through all of that. And then with the feedback that we gather from you, we will put together, obviously, report back to Talitha and tell her how everything's gone, because it's really important for GCF as well to know that they're getting the good impact and that the benefits are flowing down to other people in the organisation. So you can tell me about how it's benefited you, your team, your organisation, and ultimately your beneficiaries. So the framework, again, it's all about the companionship you'll get on your journey. So if you're having a difficult time, or even if you're having a challenging time because you're doing something with the organisation, you're doing something trying to get your work-life balance settled, it could be any kind of anything about you as an individual in your role at the charity. Your mentor will be a companion on that journey. Everything you talk about is confidential. You can talk about anything you want. You set the agenda. They're helping you become the person that you can be, that you've got the potential to be. And it's giving you the space to think through things that you perhaps don't have time to do otherwise during the week. And people have described it as a haven, that hour, that 60 minutes. They've described it as, the time of the week where they can just get things off their chest, just speak to another human being that's not expecting them to deliver something at the end of it. So it's not like talking to you, as Talitha said, not like talking to your board or talking to your team at work. And it's just a nice space to do some thinking and some reflecting. So the framework, those 6 sessions, these are the 5 stages that you will go to, and you'll notice straight away right at the end there, moving on, it is limited to 6 sessions, and that's just so that we can focus you on getting something deliverable, or deliverable is not the right word, but something concrete out of the whole experience. So at the moving on point, you'll be looking back and saying, well, this was our objective at the beginning. Have I achieved that? If I haven't achieved that, have I achieved something else? Because things can change. So it's about focusing on getting something, making some progress while you're having this these mentoring sessions. And the recipe for success, really, these are the sort of really critical things that you need to make sure you're doing on a mentoring program. As a mentor, be willing to change, listen and learn, and even as a mentee, obviously the same. Just be enthusiastic, open and honest. And for the mentor, it's important that you realise you don't have to have all the answers as a mentor. All we expect is that you've had experience of working and living and being a human being, and being able to share that and support someone who's also put their hand up and said, look, I would like and I would appreciate this support. The mentor matching is really important, but also setting the expectations from the start. So that's why I will talk to you a little bit when you put your application in. I will talk to you about what you'd like to achieve from the whole process. I think the applications are due in by the middle of April, something like that, Talitha. Yeah. So when the applications start to come in, Talitha will start selecting people to go on the program. She'll be sending them through to me, and then I'll make contact with you and we'll talk about, just fine-tuning what you're looking for so that I can just go away and find the right volunteer mentor for you.
Brilliant. So next, we've got a case study. So we both Murray and Mark are on the call. I'm going to stop sharing because we'd like to see them in person, just to share with us a little bit about their journey this year. It's really ad hoc, ad lib. There's no major presentation. We didn't want to put pressure on anyone, but it would be lovely for you to come off mute and talk as a pair about how you've got on this year.
Who's meant to start?
Definitely the mentor, I think.
Okay. Well, I went into mentoring. I've had a lot of experience in consulting with one of the major consulting firms, but after that, on the Welsh border, I spent a lot of time with charities, chairing a number, and also working with young offenders. And I'm very keen to give back what I can to the community. So this gave me an opportunity to do that. That said, it's great to keep on learning, and every situation is different, every experience is different. The sector changes, the charity sector changes, and the world changes, and also getting closer and more knowledgeable about the community, because I've been here 3 years in Cheltenham. The community is sort of slightly different where I was previously near Monmouth on the Welsh border, it's very similar, but it's slightly different as well. So that's been a really interesting comparison. Actually, with this, I felt a bit of a fraud coming into it, because having met Mark, he's really a highly experienced and very astute charity manager. And really, when I met him first, I felt there was not that much to add to his excellent analysis of what the issues were and what the problems they were facing. So what could one do, really? The question seemed to be how to affect some change in the organisation without pissing off everybody. And secondly, what to do first and maybe what to do next, sort of to clarify that a bit. All I could offer really was listening to all that, which is very interesting, and make odd suggestions and perhaps suggest some options, and to just generally be encouraging where I could. I've always been in these situations very aware that when I have one point of contact, which is not the problem, but it's the issue. If you have one point of contact with the organisation, you are getting a single stream of information, as it were. And in most consulting situations, you pick up as many streams as you can to sort of cross-check and get a three-dimensional view. This therefore tends to be a bit one-dimensional because you're looking from one angle. In this case, really, Mark is so on top of the thing that you get a pretty good view, I think, of what's going on. For me, I found it most interesting and certainly well worth it. A jolly good use of my time. I just hope I was some use to Mark, who was doing a great job before I got there, really.
Thanks, Murray.
Brilliant. Thank you, Murray. That's fantastic. And Mark, your perspective.
Well, thank you, Murray. That's very kind of you. But I think from my point of view, I really needed this safe space and this forum to be able to download where I thought the organisation was, where I thought we needed to go, and where I was amongst it all. And you know, we're based in the woods, and to a certain degree, I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I needed to have this process and have someone like Murray listen, which is one of the key skills, and he's a brilliant listener, and he's very good at observing little nuances of the charity, which really helps me connect with the whole process, just little things, which are really interesting. And I'd say to a certain degree, the first two sessions was difficult in the sense that I identified what the issues were, where we needed to go, but there was a lack of progress, I felt, not within our mentoring process, but where we were in the charity. So session 3, I think, was a place where I really did hatch down a kind of strategy, which I was hoping, because it all worked at the right time, because we were having a trustees weekend away. Well, it wasn't a weekend away, it's a weekend at the woods. So I really wanted to get a strategy in place to deliver to them. And when you're developing anything like that, you really do. It's fantastic to have that ear and that safe space to kind of say, does this make sense? And it was brilliant for that. And I think because that gave me that clarity and that sounding board, the weekend and everything that came from it was a total success and more. So I think, you know, from a difficult position, we worked through the woods and come out the other side and saw this really bright horizon. And then the remaining sessions was really reviewing the, you know, it's great having success in agreeing a way forward, but we're beginning to implement the plan, and things are happening and were happening. And so that was great to be able to do that with Murray. And so the whole process, came at the right time for the organisation and me. And it was, as far as I was concerned, a total success. From thank you, Maria, for appointing the right partnership in going through this process, and thank you to Murray for always being there and always listening and always coming up with some really nuanced observations, which really helped. So the whole process was fantastic.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear, Mark. Thanks so much. I'm really it's quite emotional hearing, because we all know how challenging it is when you're in positions, and certainly thinking about future thinking in this current climate's really tough. I find the same thing myself, and I'm sure we all do, thinking about what does the future look like and how we're going to get there. So to hear the success of that is just absolutely brilliant. I know we've got some other people on. I'm just mindful, just a few minutes. It'd be great. Colin, you've been a mentor for a while. It'd be lovely to hear a snapshot from yourself. And I know Lisa, who was your mentor, Lisa?
My mentor's Fiona.
Yes, so she's not on here. And Colin, your mentee's not on here, are they? Oh, you're on mute.
No.
Unfortunately, so Dan couldn't join today, so
yes,
if there are other pairs on, please go ahead.
I don't think we have any other pairs, so it'd be lovely.
Karen and Duncan. Karen and Duncan are on. Karen and Duncan.
Karen Morgan.
Ah, Karen Morgan. Oh yes, of course, in the same screen. I can just see that. I can't quite see your head there, Duncan, behind the name. Where are you? Oh, lovely. Karen and Duncan, could you just quickly talk about your experience? I'm just mindful of time.
Absolutely, I'll keep it short and sweet, Talitha. For me, it's been a great experience. I think Marie made an excellent call introducing me to Karen. We've been getting on very well, and most splendidly of all, Karen challenges me at every turn, and in the very best way. We've been having quite a lot of fun with our relationship. And when I say fun, it's a fun in the way that makes me feel permanently slightly uncomfortable in a really good way. And I can't sing her praises enough, and I won't embarrass her by carrying on doing so here. But I think one of the things that, for me, I've done quite a lot of mentoring for years with my clients and with people I've met along the way. And one of the things that I found with Karen is she very quickly established her credentials with her experience, and I found access to her experience very useful. But more importantly than that, she established a great deal of trust with me. I trust her enormously, and I think that's created some very open, very candid conversations, and has from time to time made me feel usefully uncomfortable. So I'm very grateful to her, and I thoroughly recommend the process.
Oh, thanks, Duncan. And Karen, we can't quite see you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, well, it's been a great time for me too. I hope it will go on being so. A slightly new situation for me in helping Duncan see his way into leaving an organisation where he was chair, and perhaps at that stage of the organisation's development wasn't best suited to that position, but leaving it carefully in a way that left it ready to move to the future without doing any damage. And I think he did that brilliantly. And since then, we've just had a lot of fun, really, because, he doesn't know what he's going to do next, but we've got a whole lot of ideas between us, and he's following up those that he thinks are the best ones. So a new situation, a new friend, very enjoyable, and I hope we'll go on being friends.
Yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. I mean, that's another challenge we have at GCF, is succession planning our board. As people finish their term, it's really challenging. You don't want to let your board go, because just as they're with you, and then they're bedding in, they're leaving their term, and that's so tricky. And I think succession planning, people leaving, I know anyone on my board, if they left, would leave a huge hole. And I think it's a careful thing of how we support that succession planning. So it's brilliant. It's our first one. It's really interesting that we've had a mentor partnership where people are being supported to at the board level. So that's been brilliant and great to hear the success of that. Thank you. Colin, just quickly from you, because we had an amazing partnership when you were with Reg, and we wanted to support and make sure this is fully accessible to people, and Reg was deaf, and you worked for the first time with a deaf person, and it'd be really interesting with your experience over the last few years, how you found mentoring and what it's brought to you, and how you felt about the programme.
Okay, thanks, Talitha. Well, very similar, I think, to Murray and Karen. I mean, one continues to learn a lot from getting involved with new charities. I mean, with my experience with Reg was, as you say, was unique because we had to do it through a sign language interpreter. And that worked actually extremely well, and probably better on screen than it did in real life, because everybody could see each other directly on the screen. Whereas when I sat at the side of Reg in his office, one was looking at the interpreter rather than looking at Reg, and that wasn't always the right thing to do. But again, I mean, my experience with Dan on this occasion has been a combination of, Dan, as you say, or Marie said, setting the agenda. Some of the sessions have been about individual issues, and one cropped up about an hour before our meeting on that occasion. So we could spend the whole, 60 or 90 minutes chatting alternatives through. And I always have a saying that, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. And really, it's then reframing the problem to try and convert it into an opportunity. And apart from that session, the rest of it has been around more strategic issues. I mean, Dan created the charity, he set it up, and as it's got bigger, of course, he's realized he can't do everything like he used to do. So it's about creating time for himself, setting strategic direction, and those sorts of things. But just as Murray and Karen have said, it's a great experience, and I'm really a great fan of this initiative, because I learned something about the way people have to run charities, in this day and age, as opposed to when I was a CEO some years ago now.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Colin. And Lisa, as a mentee.
Yeah, so I just found the whole experience has been wonderful. So I was a bit unusual, and I had to take my time getting to know my mentee, and my first one wasn't quite suitable for me personally, but I just went back to Marie, and nobody was offended when I said, no, this one's not for me. So yeah, just take time to get the right mentor. And now it's great. It's given me confidence. She gives me so much support. It's a really good place, just to go and meet once a month and get into a headspace where it's just all about me, really. But and it's really helped me with running the charity and moving it forward. I can't recommend it enough.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Lisa. I'm just going to screen share and just finish off the last couple of slides.
Right.
I think we've heard quite a few around.
That's what I was going to say.
We've had such a lovely feedback from our mentors and mentees. Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can add really to the feedback. Mentors have a great deal of experience in different ways, and they can bring that to bear. And you can hear from our mentors of the huge satisfaction that they've got out of the process of helping small charities and getting to know their local community better. So I don't think I can really add much to what they've already said.
So the benefits to the organisation, I think it's been really interesting. This investment in yourself has really big ramifications. The feedback we've had typically is I've now got a personal life. I've been able to manage my work life, and it's given me more time back in my personal life. So a little bit of investment in yourself, the benefits to yourself and your organization. I had an email recently from one of our mentees who's moving on to a new role, and it was at a point she came into the program, and she said if it wasn't coming through this program, she's not sure her charity would still be here. So it was at that critical point she needed somebody to be a listening ear, and actually, if it can keep the stability of our organizations and the success and future development of our organizations, there's huge impact on both yourself and your organization. And the impact and legacy piece, you know, working smarter, not harder. We've heard it all before, but sometimes we do get caught up. Like Mark says, sometimes it's just so overwhelming, we can't see the wood for the trees. And just, I guess the other analogy one of our mentees said, it was like coming to the meetings with an enormous backpack and unloading the backpack, and then slowly deciding what goes back in that backpack and deciding what you're going to carry. And sometimes you just need that person to talk through things with, to clear the wood for the trees. The benefits to the individual. I think, Marie, we've probably covered this, the mentee and the mentor, but a little bit, any extras in them, Marie?
Well, a lot of times people say it just keeps me accountable. You know, if I've got that meeting in my calendar with someone once a month, you know, it keeps me on track, keeps me progressing, you know, and keeping the focus on your leadership, and your leadership style, and where you want to be as a charity leader, because it's too easy to let that slip, especially at the moment. CEOs are fundraising, they're doing all sorts of things, recruiting board, recruiting staff. It's all going on for CEOs at the moment.
So we always run the peer-to-peer program, something where we can bring the cohort together. This will be slightly different this year. It will be run by GCF. It's really off the back of the feedback we've had. And this is about the number one ask we've had is, can you help us collaborate and form partnerships? And probably networking. It's opening your networks. And I guess that's the role that we can play in a much less formal way. So we've got some quite exciting things coming up, which will start sort of mid-year, about how we can bring the cohort together. And it may then include previous cohorts and how we can develop the networking and partnerships across the Invest programme. So just to say, peer-to-peer will still be happening, just slightly less informal and probably a bit more party. I'll leave it there. So next steps, becoming a mentee. As I say, do fill out the application form off the website. Any problems, just give me a call or pop me an email. And then becoming a mentor, if you can contact Andrew Tabor, and his email address is there, csg@oncogloss.org. And it would be brilliant if we can attract some more mentors, and that would be brilliant if you could contact him with that interest. I just want to finish off before Q&A to thank our incredibly generous donors. This year we've had John Lewis support the first 3 years of seed funding, and this year we have a new donor, which is the Benefact Group, and we were absolutely thrilled when they wanted to support this program, as they have their head office in Gloucester, and they're really excited about supporting Invest, and as an organisation that wants to do more locally. So that will probably be coming into the peer-to-peer program, our involvement with Benefact and how you'll all benefit from that partnership. So over to Q&A. I just want to thank everybody for speaking and contributing. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and it'd be lovely if any of you have any questions, please ask away. Any observations? It's all very quiet.
Cranfield Trust, please do contact me, marie.langan@cranfieldtrust.org. Please, if you have any questions about our involvement and a little bit more about mentoring. But also, I know Talitha's got some information about the programme on the GCF side.
Anyone that would like to say anything? Any comments? Claire?
Hi, lovely. I've put something in chat. I just wanted to say thank you to
brilliant.
you, Marie, and the mentors and the mentees for sharing that. It's a very insightful introduction.
Brilliant, thank you. I forgot about the chat, so thank you, Claire. And who have we got? Karen, thanks so much. Got to go. Brilliant presentation. That's positive. My interest struggling. So, oh, internet, that's fine. So Claire, sorry, your internet's not great, but you're still here. And I think, does it have to be just one person within an organization, or can it be more who are being mentored as a small group? Oh, interesting. Small group. So that was from Catherine Fowler. What's your thoughts on small groups, Marie?
We do have, because obviously we do mentoring across the country, and we have various kind of ways of doing it. It's normally one-to-one, and it is probably the most traditional way to do it, one-to-one, but we do have a few mentors that will mentor a small group, a couple of trustees or a couple of people in an organization. You have to agree your objectives beforehand. You know, we can't have, you know, obviously you've got to decide it's something that you're going to be doing jointly together at the organization that you're going to need support with, because obviously it can be a little difficult otherwise to herd cats, really, if you're not too careful. But it can be done. But Talitha, it's up to you whether you want to do this under the program, or let's see what the applications are like when you write to Talitha, when you apply for the program. Let's see, we can talk about it then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really open-minded, so if you're thinking a small group would benefit, then put your application in and let's have a look at it. There's no reason why we can't change things up a bit. I'm always interested to look at things differently, and maybe it could be a test, a sort of pilot of whether we put a group together. I know personally away days, I know Mark mentioned, I mean, I've got an away day coming up, and you know, thinking about strategy in away days, you do need people to talk to, and sometimes a group. And I think maybe it could be quite beneficial if you're going through change, or maybe you need to think about the future, and that those big strategic pieces, it could be that a group coming together to learn and go through that process, it could be hugely helpful. So we're open-minded. Send us a proposal and let's have a look at it.
We'd kind of look at that as a facilitation piece, facilitating a meeting, but it's possible that could be something you could have 6 sessions at and need to do over a longer term. So that's, yeah, let's look at that. Yeah.
Great, brilliant. Well, everybody, we're bang on time. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that was insightful and informative. But any questions, pick up the phone or give us an email. And as I say, all the contacts are on our website, and you've got Andrew's email address for any mentor interest. Thanks so much, everyone.